Now let me ask everybody a question here. What would your business look like if you could add 4 or 5 guests, additional guests, to every single PBR your organization booked? What's 4 times 250? It's 1,000. What's 10 times 250? 2,500. Now I'm talking about over and above what people do anyway. How many have done home meetings and people just, they have 2 people or 3 people or 1 person and you get in that process and you're like, people just aren't inviting, they don't have enough people there, et cetera, et cetera. Guys, I'm gonna show you over the next few minutes how to pack out living rooms. Is that okay? Now I know everybody in here has already booked their personal home meeting. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna coach you the way I coach my people. Is that okay? I'm gonna pretend like each of you is doing a home meeting personally, because I know you are, and I'm gonna coach you as I do my people. You see, we have a system, and in that system, we have something called the 72-hour call. 72-hour call. Now, does anybody have any idea when we do this call? 72 hours prior to a home meeting. See, this is one of the misconceptions in ACN. Systems produce predictable results. The problem is we as individuals and human beings sometimes bring our good ideas into the system and it changes everything. Guys, I'm here to tell you, leave the good ideas at the door and do exactly what the system says. That's how you produce those results. So we do a 72-hour call. Now, why 72 hours? We found that 3 days before an event, or PBR, is the best time to invite. 4 days is too long. 5 days out is too long. 6 days out is too long. I've had people get in and say, well, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and invite for my home meeting, and I wanna do it 2 weeks from now. What happens? Life gets in the way, right? People get sick. They have to stay, they work late. They have a soccer game they didn't realize, a football game they didn't realize, right? Why? Because life gets in the way. So 72 hours out, it's when we want our people inviting for their home meetings, okay? Now, here's how it works. First of all, we make a phone call to that new person, and we ask them a simple question. How is the inviting going? Now, understand, it's very important. You, as the person doing this 72-hour call, you are a coach, not a boss. People pay $495 to get in ACN, not to have someone tell them what to do. They get in ACN for $495 believing you can coach them to financial freedom. It's a major difference between those two. So when you're doing this 72-hour call with your new people and helping them and coaching them, remember, you are a coach, not a boss. If they push back on you, if they don't want to do any part of this call, it's okay. I'm going to show you how to handle that. So the first thing we do is we ask them a simple question. How is the inviting going? You're going to get one of 3 responses. The first response is going to be this. Well, I haven't called anybody yet because you told me to wait till we coached you before we were coached before we made our first phone calls. You know that person's listening, right? They're coachable. But then you're going to get this response. I called 8 people, 5 of them hung up on me, 3 of them laughed at me, and I'm on the roller coaster. How many have experienced that? Here's your response. Great. That's why we're going to do this call. I'm going to teach you how to get yeses. Then you're going to get this one. I've got 20 people coming. How many are excited when you hear that? That's because you've never heard this training before, right? Because what's the worst thing you can hear? I got 20 people coming, because you don't know how they invited them. See, here's what happens. People send 20 text messages. People send 20 Facebook invites. I had a lady hang door hangers on her apartments with free hamburgers. 20 of them. She said, I have 20 people coming. She did the meeting. Guess who showed up? The person that cooked the hamburgers. Guess what happened? She quit. See, that wasn't her fault. That was the coach's fault, right? Because we don't know how they invited. So when we say you have 20 people coming, here's what I say. Invite me the way you invited them. And this is where we role play our script. You want to role play. Can we agree you want your new person practicing on you, not on their list of 100 people, right? Because people go through their list, they're horrible, they call their best people first. By the time they've learned the script, all the best people had said no. So what do we say? We say, invite me like you invited me. Now sometimes they're going to say, well, I don't want to role play. No problem. I'll do it for you. And here's what I want to do. I'm going to pretend like we're doing a 72-hour call for Mr. James Kawhi. James is the executive team leader in our organization who's doing phenomenally well. He's about to hit team coordinator. And I'm going to pretend Mr. Lloyd Rogerson, soon to be regional director, team coordinator on my team is doing this call, okay? So Lloyd calls up James and he says, how's the inviting going? And James, well, I hadn't invited anybody. You told me not to. Great. Let's practice the script. So Lloyd's going to say, hey, James, it's Lloyd, let me ask you a question. How's the, and he's going to go through the script with him. And I'm going to do the script the way I would do it. Hey, James, it's Michael Crowder. Let me ask you a question. Do you look at other ways of making money? Absolutely. Here's my situation. I share my why. I go through that process. I've got, we're talking about energy and telecom and home security. And more important, I've got a gentleman named Lloyd Rogerson coming over, and I'm going to edify him. I go through that script that we talked about yesterday. And then we're going to have James invite. And James is going to invite Lloyd back. And he's going to be terrible in the beginning. Does that make sense? That new person is not going to be good at the script in the beginning. It's very important to understand that. But you as the coach, here's what you don't do. Well, that was terrible. Right? How many know what I'm talking about? I mean, you practice the script with people. They've got the script in front of them. You're like, what language are you reading? Right? Because they think they have better ideas. So here's the thing. Remember, you're a coach. Every response as your coach, here's what you say. Here's what I like. Everything. Here's what doesn't matter how horrible they are. Here's what I like. You're breathing. Right? We got that covered. Right? You want to give them something and then move into the coaching. So then you want to establish their why. You find out why they're doing the business. You want to teach them how to edify other people. Can we agree in today's society, people don't talk good about other people? Does that make sense? Let me just ask you a question. How many here are so thankful that you have Mark Boonzire? Can we agree he is one of the greatest leaders in the field in ACN? He's like one of the top SVPs, even though he's the vice president of sales for ACN. I've never seen anybody who cares more about his people as he does. Can we show our appreciation? Guys, that's called edification. You see, sometimes you have to practice it. Right? So as you're doing this, practice edifying with that new person. So go over the script with them, talk about their why, talk about edification, right? Go through that entire process. And then we want to talk about their list. James, how's your list? How many folks are on your list? Now, what's your goal? We talked about it yesterday. 100 names. 100 names. Now, here's the thing. You want them writing down everybody they know, but they, as a new IBO, are going to be nervous about writing anyone's name down, right? How many know people that invite down, right? We joke about it in America, but what happens is people invite people that they have influence over. So think, if 1 to 10, if you have the influence of a 5, you usually know people that are a 4 and a 6, right? And who does the 5 invite to their home meeting? The 4s. So the 4 comes, they get started because 5 told them to. Who does the 5 know? I'm sorry, who does the 4 know? 5s and 3s. Who do they invite? 3s. Soon you have a meeting where people have taped a $50 bill to the top of the form and said, I'm going to get in 3 months from now. There's nothing wrong with that. Those people can win an ACN and you can love on an ACN, but can we agree that we want to invite up because we want to go fast, but we want to provide opportunity for everybody? So at that 5, we teach people to invite 6s. That takes posture. It takes confidence that new people don't have. So you have to enroll them on that. So how do we enroll them on that? We simply ask them a question. How many A players do you have on your list? So I've asked, James, how many people on your list, James? 50, 60, right? Great. Don't say, well, you don't have 100, right? No, don't do that. We're going to get him there. I'm going to show you how in a minute. Remember, as you're going through this, you're the coach, you're taking the report card of this IBO. So James says, well, I've got, how many of those 50 would you say are A players? Well, I think 20 of them are. Now, their idea of an A player and our idea of an A player may be different. Does that make sense? See, here's the thing. An A player within our system is, first of all, a business owner. Somebody who's owned a business, because can we agree, if you own a business and it's Saturday night and you're cooking, you're grilling out at your house, what's the business owner thinking about? The business. Because at the end of the day, if the bills can't be paid, who's responsible? The business owner. At the end of the day, if the employees, there's not enough money to pay them, who's responsible? The business owner. They have all the weight on their shoulder. In ACN, here's what they see. $495, no overhead, no cost of goods, no inventory, no liability. Are you kidding me? I can build it as big as I want to. I can get unlimited residual income. All I have to do is do what I do anyway without the pressure. Business owners get it. You want to focus them on business owners. Here's what I say. Who cuts your grass? Who cuts your hair? Who does your nails? Who's your accountant? Who's your lawyer? Who's your doctor? Who's your dentist? Who owns those facilities? Who painted your house? Who put in your carpet? Who owns those companies? Those are business owners. Begin to enroll them as a coach on how to find business owners. Second type of person is people with MLM experience, network marketing experience. Now, there's two types of network marketing experience. How many know what I'm talking about? One is, well, I've been in everything and never made nothing. That's not your A player. Invite them, right? Invite everybody. But your A player is people who've made money in direct selling. Can we agree when they come in ACN, they're like, oh my gosh, I was on a $200 auto ship for 14 years. Here, I moved my mobile over, my M&M, my energy, and I was paying the bill anyway. That's it. Right? Residual income. I go get customers. I help people save money on business. When they see ACN, they're like, this is what I've been praying for. So network marketing experience. And then high earners. People who make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year in a job. These are A players. So you want to stretch the mindset of that new person. Here's why I tell you, you've heard some of the stories. Some of the people we've put in the business. I don't know if you guys are American football, if you follow American football at all, but there's a gentleman named Josh Norman. And Josh just signed the #1 cornerback contract in American football history, in NFL history, $75 million. Well, 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, I'm at a home meeting. And I said, do you see an opportunity for yourself? He said, yes, sir. I said, what's the legal spelling of your name? He said, Norman. I said, what's the first name? Josh. I'm like, what do you do, Josh? I play in the NFL, the National Football League. I'm like, really? What team? And it was my favorite team. I'm like, how do I not know you? He said, no one knows me yet, but they will. Let that sink in. So I drove over to Josh's apartment with Mr. Manny Provenzano, Regional Vice President Platinum, my upline. We went over and we sat down, and Josh said to me, he said, I will be the #1 cornerback in the NFL. They just don't know it yet. 2 years later, he is. He's one of the most famous American Football League players in history. And guys, I sent him a text and told him I was on my way here. And he said, God is good. That was his response to me. Right? Why? Because, guys, here's why I tell you that. You don't know who they are, but unless you invite them, there's no chance that you'll ever find out. So you got to enroll your people in that. A players get this. People who make a lot of money. It doesn't matter whether they're sports or business, just A players. Enroll that new person when you're talking, when you're coaching, to make that list. Now, the third piece is confirmation list. In this call, what have we done? How's inviting going? We role-played the script. We got the why established. We talked about edifying the speaker. Then we talked about the list and building it and getting it over 100 and inviting up and getting A players involved. Now, the third component of this coaching call is reminding them that you need a confirmation list. Now, if you're not using confirmation or reminder lists, this is going to be magic for your business. You can just write this down. This will change your business forever. If they're not getting a confirmation call, if those guests those yeses for the PBR are not getting a reminder, they're not showing up. Without exception. So what do I do when I'm on the phone or we're doing this 72-hour call with James? Hey, James, listen. The night of your meeting, the day of your meeting, I want you to send me a list of everybody who said they're coming. I want their name, their occupation, their phone number, and their relationship to the host, to you. Name, occupation, phone number, and relationship to the host. Here's why. Because I want to know who the A players are, because I'm going to spend more time on the phone with them. And number two, I want to know if they're family so I can push a little harder on them, okay? And then they say, okay, no problem. And I'm like, listen, here's the thing. Without a reminder call, 0 to 20% of the people that say they're coming are coming. That's what the system proves over 10 years. If somebody has 20 yeses on their list and they don't get a reminder, 0 to 4 are coming. Now, can we agree if somebody's expecting 20 and 4 people show up or 3 people, they're devastated, right? How many have experienced that? How many have ever been to a meeting and the host is standing on the front porch with their phone looking down the road, right? It happens. Why? Because they think 20 are coming. So you have to work. Remember, you're working on them. You're setting the right expectations. You're setting the right mindset. Now watch this. With the confirmation list, with a reminder call, 40 to 60% of the people are coming. 40 to 60% of the people are coming. Now think this through. If you got 20, that's between 8 and 12. Can we agree there's still 8 to 12 who didn't show up? So go ahead and let them know. See, the key to managing the roller coaster is just being straight honest with people. Just be real with them. Let them know. Set the right expectations. This business is awesome, but it's not perfect. No business is perfect. And if you let them know that up front, and this is part of their emotional process, they'll make it through, right? Their why is big enough, right? You just want to let them know, hey, from this list, this is the number that's going to come. So here's what a confirmation call sounds like. So let's say I'm calling up James. Hey, James, it's Michael Crowder. James, let's say I'm calling Lloyd. It's James's meeting. Hey, Lloyd, it's Michael Crowder. Listen, I'm calling on behalf of James Kawhi. I know he has his private reception tonight at 6:30. He is so excited that you're coming, Lloyd, that he asked me to personally call you and just let you know how excited he is and that I personally can't wait to meet you tonight at 6:30. Can you come a few minutes early so you and I can spend some time together? James thinks the world of you. Is Lloyd coming? Yes. Do you know why he's coming? Because I built so much value, he will rearrange his plans to be there. That's the confirmation call. Can we agree that adds people to your home meeting? Okay, so let's go to the next piece, how to set up the house. We went through it yesterday. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but can we agree setting up the house is key, right? This is a business. This is 1 hour of their life. Enroll them at this point on being excited, not apologizing for the no-shows. Don't stand up there and say, well, half the people didn't show up. The people sitting there who took away from their family to come over at 6:30, they don't know somebody else was supposed to show up. See, here's what happens. You're going to have meetings. I'm going to talk. Is it okay if I deal with leadership for a second? You're going to have meetings that have 1 or 2 people there. You're going to have a whole bunch of meetings where people just don't do the work. How many of you experienced that? But here's the thing. Go do the meeting. Do the confirmation call. Pretend like there's 50 people in the living room. I get up and speak. If there's 3 people there, those 3 people matter. Those 3 people, this may change their life. I got a call from my regional director, Steve Miller. I'll never forget it. Regional director. I mentioned this in leadership. He called me up and he said, hey, Michael, I'm at a home meeting. I've got a guy here that says he can crush this business. I want to 3-way him in with you. I said, perfect. Put him on the phone. I talked to him. We talked for a little while. He ended up coming to convention, bringing 10 people with him the next week, and ended up becoming the #1 team coordinator in all of North America within 4 months in the business. He was the only guest at that home meeting. The only guest. Who did the home meeting? My regional director. Do you know why he's a regional director? Because he did the meeting. Because that guy became the TC that took him regional director. See, he went and did the meeting. The reason I tell you that is because this business is about going through the process. Every single person you meet, you have to believe they can be an SVP, but you got to get them qualified and get in front of their people like they're going to quit tomorrow. If you do that, you create momentum. You keep the people that otherwise would have quit, right? That's how you get people, quick victories, fast success. Okay, so set the house up, have color printouts, have, your new magazine is unbelievable. I was sitting there reading it yesterday. It's absolutely incredible. I would be putting that magazine in the hand of every single person who's interested in this business. Because wouldn't you rather them read about the co-founders than read on Google what somebody in the southeastern part of the United States did in ACN, didn't have any success? Right? Who cares? I tell people, listen, people who don't have success, if they were as loud inside of ACN as they are outside, they would have had success. Does that make sense? So set the house up for business. Take ownership. Know where you're going. Know who you are before you ever step up in front of your group at your home. Know where you're going. I'm going with or without anybody, right? I'm going with or without anybody. So what have we done? We did the coaching call. We went over the script. We taught them how to edify. We dealt with their why. We talked about the list. We talked about the confirmation list. We teach them how to set their house up. We keep it super simple. This is about a 20-minute phone call. But here, this last step is all that matters. If you don't do this last step, you have not done a coaching call. Are you ready? You have to three-way that person with their team coordinator or higher. I have a saying in my team, and I tell everybody, whoever does the most three-way calls makes the most money. Yeah. I talked about this. It's like learning a language. If you're going to learn a language, many of you speak multiple languages. I was talking to people yesterday that speak 7 languages. I'm still working on English. As y'all can tell, I'm not even good at that. And then I find out that we rocked up. I didn't even know what rocked up was. Now I know. I rocked up this morning. I'm excited about that. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. But here's why I tell you that. Because as you three-way in your upline, you learn their words. I remember when I signed up, Senior Vice President Michael Mazer, I melted his phone. I called him 25 times a day. He never missed my call. He said the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I called him. I remember I'd call him. I'd say, hey, Mike, I got a guy on the phone who wants to know what ACN stands for. Can I three-way him in? Put him on. What does ACN stand for? He tells him. I'm like, okay, now I know. That's in my language. Right? Hey, Mike, this guy wants to know, what happens when somebody says this. Okay, hang on. Mike, can you answer it for him? That's in my language. Instead of making up stuff, I even three-wayed him in with stuff I knew the answer to because I wanted to know how he answered it. See, you're learning a language. How do you learn a language? You immerse yourself in and around people who speak it. Three-way call. Now, what's the three-way call used for in the 72-hour call? Validation and edification. Validation and edification. How many have ever, especially if you're married, right? How many have said something to your spouse and they don't receive it because they don't know you that way? And then a couple weeks later, somebody, a perfect stranger, says the same thing. And they're like, did you hear that? Validation, right? Because they don't know you that way. So as you're coaching someone for 15 or 20 minutes, you're not necessarily still edified, right? You're their coach, you're loving them. So once again, let's say Lloyd, team coordinator Lloyd Roger, is doing James Kawhi's 72-hour call. At the end of the call, here's what he's going to say to James. James, I'm working with Platinum Regional Vice President Michael Crowder. He actually did this, exactly like this. I'm working with Platinum Regional Vice President Michael Crowder. He's looking for the next regional vice presidents and senior vice presidents in Perth. I think you're the one. Do you hear that language? Do you think he's the one? Yes. Now, he has to prove it. But everybody thinks everybody is a senior vice president. We have to believe everybody can win. Doesn't matter what their background is. You saw it yesterday. Everybody from different backgrounds. Do you know who got me right here was Helen? Does that make sense? Seeing her dad and her daughter, right? And seeing what happened with her in the middle of small community. Guys, those are the things that hit you, right? So when that happens, when you look at the edification, the validation, so here's what happens at the end. He says to James, I think you're the one. I've arranged for a 3-way call with Regional Vice President Platinum, Michael Crowder, because I know what you're going to do. Can you hold on a second? Now, he puts James on hold. Make sure James is on hold. He gets me on the phone. Hey, Michael, I've got James on the phone. It's a 72-hour call. He did great with the script. Do you mind practicing with him one time? He has 60 people on his list, and he didn't want to give me a confirmation list. Okay, right? But there's going to be some scenario. You took your report card. You're giving it to your upline, team coordinator hire. And that upline's like, okay, great, put him on the phone. So the call merges. Here's what I say. James, man, it is great to meet you. Welcome to the team. Lloyd has told me so much about you. He thinks you are the guy, the man, the next superstar. Now, why am I on the phone? Because Lloyd is one of the greatest leaders in all of Asia Pacific. I edify him. I edify him. I make James call him sir when I hang up, because I built him up so much, right? Because why? Because he's been on the phone. Lloyd's been coaching him for 20 minutes, right? So I'm like, listen, James, you don't understand who you're working with. I'm so excited to be on this call because I listen very closely to what Lloyd says. Now, let me ask you a question, James. How's the inviting going? Right? James, invite me one time. Let's practice for a minute. And then I have the new IBO invite me. I practice with them. Like, James, let me ask you a question. How many people are on your list? 60, wonderful. Let me ask you, do you have your cell phone? You're on your phone, okay, or your mobile. Click contacts for me. Scroll to the bottom. How many do you have there? 600. How many are on your list? 60. I know that's just probably because you hadn't had time to write them all down. Right? Great. Now, one more thing, James. Here's the thing. All the leaders in our team decide what meeting they're going to do. And I know Lloyd wants to do your meeting. I know you're going to have the biggest list, aren't you, James? Absolutely. We as leaders, it's not political. We go where the biggest list is. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to send me your confirmation list the morning of your meeting personally. Copy Lloyd on the email. Can you do that for me? Because I want to make sure I follow what's happening with you and your organization. Can you do that for me? Awesome. Excited to work with you. Here's my personal phone number. Call me for anything, and then I hang up. Now, can we agree James is probably going to invite harder? Can we agree James is probably going to invite more people? You see, if you buy a franchise business for $3 million, can we agree you're going to spend extra time with the manager? Can we agree you're going to properly train the manager? You have to view every single new IBO as your new senior vice president. And you have to work and believe that they can go all the way, but you have to do everything as a leader you can to make sure that they do. Then it's up to them.